See if we got anything. If there's one thing that is inherently human, is that we tell stories. And we tell those stories in pictures.
Native Nebraskan Michael Forsberg is a respected conservation photographer and author.
I see myself as a geographer and then a photographer. Geography isn't a hard science, it's a perspective that emphasizes space and place and ecology and how everything connects with everything else. The power of photography is to start a conversation, maybe get somebody to care.
For 20 years, Forsberg has been documenting habitats of his home turf, the Great Plains. These 12 states in America's heartland account for 1/4 of the nation, but are often overlooked as flyover country.
318 Victor, taxiing out for takeoff, runway 31.
The land's a place where grass rules over trees. It's a place where you just feel this immensity, where you feel very small.
Surprisingly, the vast plains contain an unexpected bounty of species and habitats, including an essential flyway for migratory birds.
It's a really diverse landscape. Think about Nebraska. There's more biological communities and ecosystems from the west to the east over that 350 miles or so than there is from the eastern border of Nebraska all the way to the Atlantic Ocean. This is pretty cool up here. My goodness. You know, the Great Plains in its moments is every bit as remarkable as the mountains or the seashore or the canyons, not just of this country, but of this world. This is a gift. It's our job to be good stewards and take care of it.
But the plains are threatened by increasing demands on land and water to grow crops and to serve as a new source for America's energy needs.
The Great Plains of today are by far the most endangered biome on the planet because they've been the most altered. I think this area is at risk. We're losing species at a faster rate in this world than we ever have in recorded history. We have to be really careful with how we treat this land moving forward because more and more demands are being put on it all the time. Everything is connected to everything else.
And the linchpin of those connections is water.
I think we need to know where our water comes from. We get it from snowpack in the Rockies as snowmelt. We get it from the Ogallala Aquifer coming up from the ground as groundwater, and then we get it from our weather and climate. If you don't have water, you don't have life. Pretty much everything else stops.
So Forsberg began leading a team of citizen scientists to examine Nebraska's water supply like never before.
What are you working on? You always wished that you could see the processes of erosion and deposition and see flood and see drought and all of those things. With time-lapse, you actually can.
The Platte Basin Timelapse team is using automated camera systems to understand how a water basin functions. Its terrain acts like a funnel, draining all surface water from its highest elevation to its lowest point. And the Platte River Basin is enormous.
It takes up most of Nebraska and parts of Colorado and Wyoming. We thought, what if we put time-lapse cameras throughout the entire watershed and then followed that water hundreds of miles until it came to the mouth of where it dumps into the Missouri River.
At 42 different locations, a time-lapse camera is programmed to take one photo every hour, every day, year-round. The team now has recorded 3 years of water basin history. It's an unprecedented visual database.
We're going to have over 1 million images by this summer. And each one of those images is not just a pretty picture, but something that science can extract information out of.
Ecologist Emma Brinley Buckley wants to see if her water contamination research is linked to water levels recorded by the time-lapse cameras.
By visualizing the data on top of them, you can see very well on this time lapse that when the flood comes in, nitrates increase because a large source from them is agriculture. And when the flood came, it brought down the fertilizer with it and the nitrates. So this huge spike that you can visualize on the graph, you can look at it and you can get a clear picture. That is from the flood.
Examining water cycles of the Platte Basin is one of the project's main goals. Stephen Speicher is charting 3 years of data from the U.S. Geological Survey that relates to time-lapse sequences from key camera positions along the river.
Each one of these graphs, we can look at 1 year. So a really good example is 2011. We had a ton of water. Then over 2012, it sort of drops out in the middle of the summer here again. We can show the water completely full at a location with an image. And then exactly 1 year later, there's no water in the Platte.
Moving forward, the cameras will act as long-term environmental monitors to document the changing nature of the water basin.
I'd like to see this project run indefinitely. If we can build a template about how to look at a watershed using time-lapse photography here in the Platte Basin, we can take that template and apply it to any watershed. That's a heck of a powerful tool. I want people to understand a little bit more about the world in which they live. We have to take care of and manage this landscape that we call home.